Hello friends, my name is Sapna Goyal and my channel is Sapna Goyal 1985. Through this video, we are going to study class 7th history lesson 4 of NCERT book, The Mughal Empire. And students, this video is available in Hindi as well. This is the image of Red Fort of Delhi. Earlier, this was the residence of Mughal emperors. Now, who were Mughals? The Mughals were the descendants of two great lineages. From their mother's side, they were the descendants of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan ruled over Mongol tribes, China and Central Asia. And from their father's side, Mughals were descendants of Timur. Timur ruled over Iran, Iraq and modern-day Turkey. Now, what is this father's side and mother's side? Let's have a look. Look at this family tree of Babur. The initial ruler was Timur, and then came Prince Miran Shah, then Prince Sultan Muhammad, then Sultan Abu Sayyid, and then Prince Umar Sheikh Mirza, and then came Babur. And with the beginning of the rule of Babur, we say Mughal rule started in India. So, from their father's side, Mughals are the descendants of Timur, and similarly, from their mother's side, they were the descendants of Genghis Khan. But you know, students, Mughals always emphasized their Timurid and not Mongol descent. That means they never liked themselves to be associated with Genghis Khan. Mongol is written in the book because Genghis Khan ruled over areas of Mongolia and Mongol tribes belonged to Mongolia. So Genghis Khan, he is associated with the massacre, that means the killing of a large number of people. That is why Mughals never wanted to be associated with them. Moreover, Uzbeks, which was a Mongol tribe and Genghis Khan ruled over them, was a competitor of Mughals. So having friendship with your competitors is something that's not logical. So that is why Mughals never liked themselves to be associated with their Mongol descent. So here is the list of some Mughal rulers who ruled over the Indian subcontinent. The first came Babur. He ruled from 1526 to 1530 Common Era. And then came Humayun, who ruled from 1530 to 1540 CE. If you remember children, in the last chapter we studied that after Humayun, for some time period, Sher Shah Suri came to power and then his son. But Humayun was again able to regain his old position and he came to power in 1555 again and he ruled for one more year. Then came Akbar, he ruled from 1556 to 1605. Then came Jahangir and then Shah Jahan and then Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal ruler. There were many other Mughal rulers after Aurangzeb. The last one was Bahadur Shah Zafar, about whom we are going to read in class 8th. So let's start with Babur. He succeeded to the throne of Ferghana in the year 1495 when he was just 12 years old. Ferghana is in Uzbekistan, but he faced rebellion from his own relatives. He was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion of another Mongol group, the Uzbeks. And he kept on moving for a lot of years and finally seized Kabul in the year 1504. In 1526 Common Era, he defeated the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, at the first battle of Panipat and he captured Delhi and Agra. And if you remember children, Ibrahim Lodi was the last ruler of the Delhi Sultanate and after he got defeated, Delhi Sultanate came to an end. And then Babur founded Mughal Empire. So Mughal Empire starts with the rule of Babur. So children, we can see Mongolia in this map. It is just above China and we can see Uzbekistan shaded brown in color. It is bordering Kazakhstan. Dear children, if you want some more information on various Mughal emperors, then you can go through table 1. It is very easy to understand. Here is another map showing military campaigns under Akbar and Aurangzeb. Children, the next topic is Mughal traditions of succession, which means how Mughals believe in dividing their property. Mughals did not believe in the rule of primogeniture, which means a system where eldest son gets his father's property. Rather, Mughals believed in the Mughal and Timurid custom of Kumar Senari, which means division of property amongst all the sons. So in Mughal Empire, no son could go empty-handed. But of course, the emperor can only be one. Now here is the next topic. How was the relationship of Mughals with other rulers? Mughals constantly campaigned or fought against those rulers who refused to accept their supremacy. Some Indian rulers joined Mughals voluntarily, that means by their own wish. Some of the Rajput rulers married their daughters into Mughal families. For example, you must have heard the name of Jodhabai. She was the daughter of Rajput ruler of Amber. She got married to Akbar and then they had a son called Jahangir. And Jahangir was also married to a Rajput princess who was the daughter of Rajput ruler of Marwar. And in return, many of the Rajputs received high positions in Mughal court like Mansabdars or they became Subedars. The best part of Mughal rule was that even the defeated rulers were treated honorably by Mughals. If they agreed to accept Mughal supremacy, then they were given their land back as assignments. That means now those defeated rulers will be ruling their kingdom again, but now they have to collect taxes and they have to give it to the Mughals and they will always be under Mughal supremacy. Some of the Rajput rulers even refused to accept Mughal authority for a long time. For example, the Sisodia Rajputs. You must have heard the name of Maharana Pratap. He was a Sisodia Rajput. The next topic is administration under the Mughal Empire. Under this topic, we will study Mansabdari system, Zamindari system and Subedari system. Let's start with Mansabdari system. Now, who were Mansabdars? Those who joined Mughal service were appointed as Mansabdars. All Mansabdars had a position or rank, also known as Mansab. Mansabs were appointed from diverse backgrounds, example Turkish, Irani, Afghans, Rajputs, Marathas, etc. Okay, under Mansabdari system, students, every Mansabdar had a fixed rank, salary and some military responsibility. And this rank and salary was fixed through a numerical value called Zat. The higher the Zat, the higher the noble's position and salary. So if some noble had a Zat of 5,000, his position, his rank, his salary was higher than that of the one whose Zat was 1,000. And every civil and military officer was given a mansab. That means any military commander or any revenue officer or any important minister had a mansab. But cooks, soldiers, the people, that means the people with lower ranks did not have mansab. And in Akbar's reign, there were 29 mansabdars with a rank of 5,000 zat. This is the highest during Akbar's reign. Now, here are the functions of Mansabdars. Every Mansabdar was required to maintain a specific number of Sawar or cavalrymen, that means Ghud to increase the military strength of the ruler. And every Mansabdar received a land which was also called as Jagir. Mansabdars did not settle on this land or they did not rule over this land. Rather, they served in some other part of the country and lived somewhere else. So then why was this land given? This land was given so that they can collect revenue from this Jagir, and from this revenue or tax they will be paying to their soldiers, and this revenue will also be their salary. And these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that whatever a Mansabdar is collecting as revenue should be roughly equal to his salary. That means he should not be collecting more or less than his salary. Now children, Akbar had a very knowledgeable revenue minister or finance minister named Todermal. Todermal carried out a careful survey of crop yields or crop production for a period of 10 years, and on the basis of this data that he collected, tax was fixed for each crop in cash. Now, the entire area under Akbar was divided into various revenue circles. Each revenue circle had its own set of revenue rates, and these rates were different for different crops. So let's say there are two areas, area A and area B, and in both the areas wheat is grown. So it is possible that both the areas will have different tax rates for the same crop. and let's say in the area A, wheat as well as rice is grown. So both the crops will have different tax rates, and this entire revenue system was called as Zabt. Children, an interesting fact here is that during Aurangzeb's reign, the number of Mansabdars increased to 79. Since there was such large number of Mansabdars, they had to wait for a long time before they could get a Jagir. That means the land from which they could collect revenue. And the actual revenue collected from Jagir was mostly less than the assessed or granted or calculated sum. As a result, the Jagirdars or Mansabdars, they started collecting as much revenue as possible. That means that they started cheating the people. And Aurangzeb, he was not able to control all this, and thus during his rule, the peasants, the small people, the small farmers, they suffered a lot. Now next topic is Zamindars and Zabt. Okay, Zamindar means lord of the land or a landlord. Mughals used the term Zamindars to describe all the intermediaries or middlemen, whether they were the local headmen of the village or they were a powerful chieftain. Being an intermediary or a middleman meant that they were a link between the peasants and the Mughals. So they collected taxes from the peasants and gave part of it to the Mughals revenue department. But in some areas, zamindars exercised a great deal of power, and in case the Mughal administrators were exploitative, then they, along with the peasants, rebelled against the Mughal authority. And these peasant revolts became very common during the end of the 17th century, that means during Aurangzeb's reign. Now the next topic is Subedar and Suba. Abul Fazl in his book Akbar Nama explained that Mughal Empire was divided into various provinces or areas also known as Subas. Each Suba was governed by a Subedar also known as a governor. A Subedar lived in his area and he maintained law and order in that area. He ruled over it and he maintained military also to support the king. But Subedar did not work all alone. He was supported by many other officers for maintenance of law and order. For example, Diwan, Bakshi, Sadr, Faujdar and Kotwal. Children, in history chapter 3, we read the terms Iqtidar or Mukti, and in this chapter we have read the terms Mansabdars or Jagirdars, Subedar. Aren't these terms confusing? Because they have a very similar meaning. So let's understand the difference between Iqtidar, Mansabdar and Subedar. Under Delhi Sultanate, the term that was used for land was Iqta, and under Mughal Empire, the land was called as a Jagir and a Suba. The governor of Iqta was called as Iqtidar or Mukti. The governor of a Jagir was called as Jagirdar or Mansabdar. The governor of Suba was called as Subedar. Now let's understand their functions. Iqtidar, Mansabdar, Subedar, they all had some similar functions. They all collected taxes from their land. They all paid salaries to the soldiers that they maintained from this tax that they have collected. And the Iqtidar and Subedar, they were also responsible for maintaining law and order, for ruling over their land. But Mansabdar, he did not have the responsibility to administer the land. He only collected taxes and paid salaries to the soldiers. And regarding the residents, Iqtidar, he lived inside the Iqta that he ruled and he maintained law and order in that Iqta. In Mansabdar, he never lived in a Jagir. In his Jagir, rather he lived somewhere else. He served some other area, but he just collected tax from his Jagir so that he could pay salary to his soldiers and he could keep salary for himself as well. Subedar, he also lived in his Suba and maintained law and order. Now children, Abul Fazl, he was a very close friend of Akbar and he worked in Akbar's court as well. He was given the responsibility of writing the history of Akbar's rule. So he wrote Akbar Nama. It was a 3-volume history of Akbar's rule. So volume 1 dealt with Akbar's ancestors. In volume 2, he recorded the events of Akbar's reign. In volume 3, he dealt with a lot of issues, and volume 3 was also known as N.A. Akbari. So it dealt with Akbar's administration, his household, army, revenues, geography of his empire, traditions and cultures of people living in India, and statistical details. That means data about crops, yields, prices, wages, and revenues. Okay, so children, Akbar was famous not only because he was a great emperor or he ruled a big, huge empire, rather, he was famous also because of his views on religion. Akbar started religious discussions when he was at Fatehpur Sikri in 1570s with religious scholars of various religions like ulama, Brahmins, Jesuit priests, Zoroastrians, and the place where these discussions took place is called as Ibadat Khana. Now, while having these discussions with various religious scholars, he realized that these people who emphasize ritual and dogma were often bigots. Now, this means what? These religious scholars, these ulama, Brahmins, or priests, whenever they made some statement, they never wanted their statements to be questioned by anyone. So he called such people bigots. That means they were intolerant of religious beliefs of other people, and for such people their teachings could only create division or disharmony in the society. So Akbar developed a new idea which was called as sulah e kul. Yeah, that means universal peace. So this idea focused on tolerance, honesty, justice, and peace. And his friend Abul Fazl, he helped Akbar in framing vision of governance around this idea. Here is another interesting fact, children. Akbar's son Jahangir married many ladies in his life, but his last and most beloved wife was Mehrun Nisa. She received the title Noor Jahan from him, and Jahangir was so impressed by her that he even got silver coins struck in her name. Do you know, even the royal seals stated couplets in her honor. Thank you so much, children. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe my channel.